Now, on 105.9 FM and streaming worldwide on the WMAL app. O'Connor and Company.
6:07, and we're flying through this month of October. You know, time flies when you've got a government shutdown that no one in the media wants to talk about. We've been talking about it every day, and we'll continue. Also, we're aiming toward that election day in, 10 days? Good Lord. At 7:05, we're going to talk to a friend of the program, Mercedes Schlapp, because CPAC Latino is going to get out that Latino vote in Virginia. Could make the difference. She'll tell us all about a big event this weekend. 7:35, Jonathan Fahey, former acting ICE director. We're going to dive into that topic that we're going to talk to Mr. Fahey about in mere moments. Just you're going to want to hear what the Democrats are doing. War on law enforcement, as usual. And then at 8:05, KT McFarland. It's Larry O'Connor. We're pleased to be joined by Cassie Smedile today. Good morning, Cassie.
Good morning. Pleased to be here.
Fresh off of your visit to Capitol Hill, where you were trick-or-treating, going from office to office.
If only. Actually, the office I was in Whip Tom Emmer's office. He had, I think you know him, Dan Ox, a local radio guy in Minnesota, and they did have a good bowl of candy. And let me tell you, that's very inviting for people.
You gotta, absolutely. All right, so we've talked about this app. This was a crowdsourced app that was created by this, tech gajillionaire punk Gen Z kid who had too much time on his hands. So he created a thing called Ice Block. And Ice Block, and there's other ice tracker apps out there, designed to alert people to nearby immigration and customs enforcement agent sightings, right? It's similar to Waze, right? When you're driving on the expressway and suddenly, there's debris in the road, or there's, someone has a flat tire on the shoulder, or more often than not, there's a cop behind that bush with a radar gun and they'll catch you speeding, right? That's what Waze has been used for in the past. And this is the same thing, but the difference is it says, hey, there's ICE agents here. If you're in the country illegally, if you're facing deportation, if you're a criminal, look out. However, what we've seen over the course of the last couple of months is that radical, violent, anti-ICE, Antifa, Trump derangement syndrome types have used these ICE trackers to go on the offensive. And they say, that's where ICE is? I'm not going to avoid them. I'm going to go toward them. I'm going to harass them. I'm going to get in their way. And in some cases, actually assault those officers. So eventually, after a couple of months of this, the Apple Store and the Google Play Store, for the most part, they've removed these apps from their stores so you can't get them or download them easily because they were being used for violent purposes, Cassie. So imagine my surprise when yesterday on Capitol Hill, Democrat Robert Garcia I'm sorry. This was not on Capitol Hill. This was in Los Angeles. Congressman, Democrat Robert Garcia, along with Mayor Karen Bass, announced that the Democrats were launching their own version of this. Take a listen.
I shared this with the mayor. Over the course of the next couple of weeks, the Oversight Committee will be launching on their website a master ICE tracker where we're going to be essentially tracking every single instance that we can verify that the community will be able to send us information on.
No. Wait, that's not the Oversight Committee. James Comer, the chairman, and the Republican majority are in no way endorsing or supporting this. If they're using tax dollars for this, that is an outrage. By the way, where are they getting any money for this? There's a government shutdown right now. But is it? I mean, this is beyond the pale, Cassie. These tracker apps are used to target law enforcement officers, and Democrats recklessly, irresponsibly, I shouldn't be surprised because they hate cops, they're now coming up with their own version of it.
It's wild. I mean, these ICE agents, we've heard Tom Homan say that there are bounties on their heads for over $50,000 to kill ICE agents.
Yeah.
And you have the Democrat Party, and good question about taxpayer dollars, who's funding this, not just from a shutdown standpoint, but broadly, who is funding this? And if it is taxpayer dollars, that's obviously something that needs to be investigated. But this is treasonous, Larry.
Yeah.
I mean,
really
going
is.
after our public safety officials, God bless these ICE agents who are just trying to do their jobs and uphold the law.
Yeah.
And you have Democrats, elected members of Congress, who are choosing illegal immigrants over the safety of American citizens, A, and B, actively advocating, I would say, for violence on law enforcement.
Right.
What do you do about that?
They know for a fact that these apps, what they are now announcing that they're proud of, they are used to target law enforcement. We know that. That's why Apple's removed the app from their store, because they recognized, and the Justice Department said, guys, you could be held accountable for this. You could be actually an accomplice if a cop is injured or, God forbid, murdered because this app was being used. And so they've removed it, and rightfully so. Do they do this for the FBI? Do they do this for drug enforcement agencies? Do they do it for any other law enforcement? I mean, I guess they probably would if they could. But for some reason, ICE – and can we just remind everybody, what is the great sin that ICE agents are guilty of? They're enforcing the laws that Congress passed.
Right.
They're lit. I mean, Congress loves passing these laws, but then when you get a president who enforces them and actually has federal law enforcement carry out what the laws are, they all freak out and they act like their hair's on fire. It's like, you did this, Congressman Garcia. It was Congress that passed the law. And
God forbid, if you don't like it, then get your caucus together to do something about it from the legislative branch. Well, but see, isn't that the dirty little secret here? Is that this Congress, we've seen the videos of Obama and Hillary and Biden and all these other grandstanding Democrats over the course of the last 20 years standing in Congress saying, there should be no illegal immigrants. Illegal immigrants should be deported. They all get credit for thumping their chest and grandstanding that they don't want illegal immigrants. Deport them all. Shut down that border. Build a wall, right? They all have flashback videos of them saying that. But the dirty secret is they said that. They campaigned on it. They raised money on it. They won election on it. They even passed laws. But they never actually expected the law to be enforced. They knew they had this secret little deal with whoever was in the White House that, yeah, we get to say that we want to deport the criminal illegal aliens, but we know no one's ever going to do it because we're beholden to the Chamber of Commerce, or we're beholden to the no borders crowd and the open borders crowd, or to the resort industry or big ag or whatever. They never expected Trump to actually come in and say, oh, hey, I've got an idea. Let's enforce the law. And now they're outraged. And so then they're going to make their own app that then targets ICE agents who are trying to uphold the law that they passed. That's right. That made too much sense when you said it, Larry. It made too much sense. That's what they're doing. Coming up at 7:35, we're going to speak with Jonathan Fahey. Now, he's a former federal prosecutor. He's also the former acting ICE director. I want to ask him specifically about this and what it means to the agents. Also, oh, by the way, if that ain't enough, federal court in Chicago has now ordered limits on ICE and their operations in the Midwest. This isn't going to. This will get stopped. They've tried this in areas all around the country. The executive branch has full ability to enforce the laws and direct ICE activities. But we got this district judge that's now been upheld by the federal court. And it means basically that ICE agents could be arrested in Chicago for literally enforcing federal law, which, of course, they can't. It's like everything about this is unconstitutional and makes no sense. But, of course, they found a district judge to do this. Apparently, the court oversight of the agency now lasts until February 2nd and said that officers who disregard the order could face contempt or criminal referral. It's time to fix these judges and fix the court system. I don't know if Judge Roberts can do it or if it takes an act of Congress, but these judges are outrageous. They can't do this. It's the last stand that Democrats seem to have. They can't win at the polls. Their policies continue to be unpopular. Yeah. They are going after American citizens, law enforcement. They're not upholding the law. You've got crime on streets, which President Trump is sending in the National Guard to try and help because they won't uphold their own laws. But it's actually truly wild how many judges they have in their pocket. Yeah. Well, and, by the way, Judge Jeffrey Cummings, in case you were wondering, was appointed by Joe Biden.
nominated by Joe Biden and confirmed by the Chuck Schumer Senate in September of 23. We'll talk to Jonathan Fahey about that as well at 7:35. First, though, at 6:15.
WMAL, making sense of the news. Live from the Home Paramount Pest Control Studios. Home Paramount, the leader in pest control since 1939.
Your next $1,000 could be one text away. It's 5K a day on WMAL.
By the way, we've got a Cracker Barrel update for you, the whole Cracker Barrel CEO, the logo and all that. But I just want to button up this because it's so important. And I know we have an incredibly educated audience. They're plugged in on how the government operates, the law. We've got former Justice Department, but we have current Justice Department officials who listen to this show. So, Cassie, people might be saying, how in the hell does this judge, this Biden-appointed judge, decide that ICE agents can be arrested for enforcing immigration laws in Chicago? This is a little peek into how the system works, everybody. This goes back to a settlement of a case called Castañón Nava versus the Department of Homeland Security, where the Homeland Security Department was being sued for ICE enforcing immigration laws and doing warrantless arrests for civil immigration violations in the Midwest, all right? Which, by the way, is completely in keeping with the law. If there's a deportation order, you don't need a warrant. That's not, everyone thinks, oh, you can't knock on the door and because there's constitutional protections and there's, the Fourth Amendment and search and seizure. No. Immigration laws are very different with regard to this, all right? And so this Castañón Nava sued the Department of Homeland Security. And did they win? Did they get some sort of Supreme Court decision? No. Here's how it works, guys. DHS, the federal government, settled that case. When did they settle it? In 2022. That's right. When Joe Biden was president, when Kamala Harris was vice president, when Merrick Garland was the attorney general, they decided that they would reach a settlement. And the Department of Homeland Security and the federal government agreed to certain guidelines for warrantless arrests and deportation apprehensions based on that settlement. And they think they can then tie the hands of every president who comes after them. And they got this federal judge to say, well, you have a settlement in place and you have to adhere to the guidelines of the settlement. And that's how suddenly laws are enforced. Because one rogue president or out-of-touch president who doesn't even know how to tie his own shoes because he has mashed potatoes for brains allows his feckless, weak attorney general to go enter into a settlement like this 3 years ago, and suddenly that's supposed to be locked in to the Constitution? Oh, hell no. But that's how they do it. And it happens all the time, Cassie Smedile, all the time.
So, Larry, do you think, I don't know how this works. I'm not a legal scholar in any sense of the word. Does this go to the Supreme Court?
It will have to. It will have to. The settlement needs to be overturned. It needs to be thrown out. And this is what happened. By the way, the reason I know this, and it does take the Supreme Court to do it, is because remember for the longest time you would have these blue state governors and mayors saying, hey, we hate the homeless problem, but we're just not allowed to arrest them and put them in jail for breaking our criminal vagrancy laws. Because the same thing happened. There was a Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals decision, and then that decision that said, oh, people have a constitutional right to, sleep and defecate on a sidewalk, which is ridiculous. They took that Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals decision to reach a settlement for the homeless activist groups. And all the states in the western region of the Ninth Circuit reached a settlement with those homeless activists based on that decision. And they said, okay, we won't arrest them anymore unless we have proper housing. They're allowed to sleep on the streets unless the local or state government has a warm bed that's secure that they can put them in, which, of course, it doesn't exist. No government has that. And that's what happens. And they reach these settlements, and it took the Supreme Court to finally say, no, that settlement is ridiculous. You can't do that. So that's what's going to happen here.
I mean, thank you for the lesson. But also, when does that happen? In the meantime, you've got...
Yeah, my guess is the appeals court will put a stay on the lower court judges. They can't. There's too much pressing. You cannot have one judge telling the entire executive branch how to enforce the laws of the land. I mean, I know they try. They want to. But there will be an appeals court who will put a stay on the judge's order, or if necessary, the Supreme Court will put a stay on the judge's order. That's my guess. I'm not a lawyer. I'm not even
but
a
you
doctor.
play a really good one on the radio.
Don't know about that. Anyway, and then we'll get, like I said, we'll get into the details with Jonathan Fahey, former ICE director, acting ICE director. And by the way, if I got anything in this law wrong, please, I know I'll get tweeted and emails. I promise you. But I'm pretty sure that's how this works. Meanwhile, we do, as I mentioned, we have an update on Cracker Barrel. You remember the ridiculous logo that they came up with, where they got rid of the guy in the chair with the barrel, and they just sort of made it look generic, like they were selling, ice cream or something. The CEO, who has been under, I don't know how she still has her job, Cassie, after this fiasco. She has explained to investors that, no, guys, you have this all wrong. We weren't trying to throw away our past and our legacy and the heritage of Cracker Barrel and everything that people love about Cracker Barrel. No, we just wanted the new logo to be more recognizable from the highway as you're driving by. That's her excuse for the new logo that got rid of the old dude in the rocking chair.
First of all, I want to know how many consultants got paid how many millions of dollars to come up with that line. How many months later after all of this? That's the best we could do.
That's the best they got.
Second, take a road trip, lady. Cracker Barrel is one of the most recognizable symbols, right up there with the golden arches. You didn't need to redesign anything. People know it from a mile away.
Oh, they can't read the words. You don't need to read the words. You see the man sitting next to the barrel, you know exactly what it is. It's Cracker Barrel.
Right. And don't forget that it wasn't just the redesign of a logo. They completely neutered the interior of the restaurants. They took away any charm that Cracker Barrel once had to replace it with like grayish. It was like gray tile, gray booths. They wanted to make it like what they did to McDonald's when they took away the big, bold colors. So this was more than that. And people aren't buying it. And
no, that nobody's buying it. If
right.
you believe this, please, I've got a Cracker Barrel franchise for you to invest in, which don't exist. There's no possible way. By the way, I know this is a lie because I remember during the whole cancel culture BLM George Floyd thing where Aunt Jemima got canceled and Uncle Ben got canceled and all these other things. There was a move to get rid of Cracker Barrel because there were lunatics who said that this was a racist thing, that the circular shape around the words Cracker Barrel is actually a whip. And the guy sitting in the chair is the slave owner, the master. And this whole thing harkens back to slavery. And, of course, it's all a lie. It's a fever dream of those lunatics. But I remember they wanted to get rid of this logo back then. So I guarantee you that's what was going on here with the woke DEI garbage.
But, these businesses continue to try and appeal to the people who are never going to walk in the doors of a Cracker Barrel.
Right.
They spend all these millions of dollars rebranding to try and appeal to the woke left who are flying right over them. They're not even on road trips. They're flying right over flyover country where you have Cracker Barrels that people stop into and enjoy. And that these companies hire these people and actually give them a seat at the table. I'm with you. How does this woman...
Well, they give them carte blanche. They give them carte...
Remember, Larry? Go ahead.
CEO Karen, can you please explain why you were going to redo the interiors?
Mm-hmm.
And I assure you that had nothing to do with visibility from the highway because you can't see the interior. Well, unless you've got those black rimmed glasses, that gives you supervision. It's 625 WMAL. Coming up, we have renewed, continued, extended coverage of the renovations of the White House. The hysteria is insane. It's reached the point now where people are so ignorant they're confusing the East Wing with the East Room. I mean, complain all you want about the renovations, but at least get your facts straight. We'll give you the facts next.
WMAL-FM, Woodbridge, Washington, a Cumulus media station. Making sense of the news. News Talk 105.9. News now. Now on 105.9 FM and streaming worldwide on the WMAL app. O'Connor and Company.
6:37. Good morning. The 23rd day of October, this Thursday in your nation's capital. At 7:05, we'll talk to Mercedes Schlapp. CPAC Latino has an event in Virginia this weekend to get out that Latin vote. So get the Tito Puente music playing and get to the polls. 7:35, Jonathan Fahey, former acting ICE director. And then at 8:05, KT McFarland, it's Larry O'Connor with Cassie Smedile. Good morning, Cassie Smedile.
Good morning. I've got my dancing shoes on over here.
Nice.
Good jam.
For some reason, the media and the left and the usual suspects in the Never Trump world, they're just losing their minds over the renovations to the East Wing of the White House. And, of course, they're either showing their ignorance or they're deliberately lying about it. Here's an example. Whoopi Goldberg yesterday on The View.
So Americans, the question is, are you on board with all of this? This is like a cash grab. Yeah. And your taxes are probably going to be paying for that.
That ballroom.
The ballroom. The taxes are not going to pay for the ballroom. We know that. That's already sort of been established, unlike past renovations to the White House. And by past renovations, I mean like almost every president has done something. Obama built it. Everyone talks about the basketball court. Oh, no, all he did was change the tennis court into a basketball. No. He demolished part of this very same area and built an indoor basketball court gymnasium. You don't see that basketball court very often. It's a very bougie, sort of, swanky little indoor gym so he could have LeBron come in and shoot hoops with him. And by the way, take a listen when that renovation was going on at taxpayer expense during the Obama administration. Here's how CNN reported it. And if you really listen carefully, you might recognize the difference to how Obama's White House renovation was being reported versus what's going on right now. Here, take a listen. Cut 6.
Sounds like they're building another wing to the White House, but we appreciate you keeping your focus.
You can't even imagine, TJ. It's going to happen for the next 2 years. All of the banging, the jackhammering, the dust, the confusion, the noise of all places to do construction is happening right here, the front lawn of the White House.
It's a 4-year renovation project. Estimated cost, $376 million.
And they seem really excited about it. They're giggling about it. Oh, this is so wonderful that Obama's doing this. And a lot of that renovation had to do with him having a basketball court to shoot hoops in. President Ford added an outdoor swimming pool that wasn't there. Nixon added a bowling alley. Truman actually gutted the entire mansion. Like, if you walk into the White House right now, prior to the Truman administration, it's all new. It's all different. I mean, yes, granted, that was 70 years ago, but still, it's not like everything in the White House dates back to John Adams, like they're acting. FDR built the East Wing that's being renovated right now didn't exist before FDR. Taft expanded the West Wing. He built the Oval Office. Teddy Roosevelt built the West Wing in the first place. Before, it was just the mansion footprint. I'm just so tired. It's just so boring. And in none of the conversations about this renovation does anyone ask the fundamental question, the critics, that is, the fundamental question, which is this a good idea? Would it be a good thing for the executive branch and the president to have a formal ballroom to host state dinners? No one, that seems to be, completely, irrelevant in their criticisms of Donald Trump.
Not germane, Larry. We don't need to bring up such pragmatic questions. But you're right. I liked, the iconic photo of Princess Diana dancing with John Travolta.
Yes.
Do you know where that took place in the White House?
That was in a tent, wasn't it?
No, it was at the front door.
Oh, at the front. Oh, because they had to spill the party everywhere throughout the entire mansion.
If you go to the White House, even on a tour, and where the Marine Band plays and all that, that's the front door. That's the foyer of the White House. That's where they dance when you have a White House event, unless you tent it, which you brought that up. During
Obama's
first state dinner.
There were tents everywhere. Yeah.
They did the big state dinner. I think it was for India, and they had to tent the lawn. It was millions of dollars. And diplomacy is a big part of the White House, of the presidency. And to have a good place to do it makes sense. And to your point, you brought up the laundry list of what past presidents have done. President Trump, of course, he's funding this both personally and then privately, so not a single taxpayer dollar.
Yeah.
But this is something that most people don't realize doesn't already exist. And for those of us lucky enough to have walked through the White House, you walk through and you get to the dining room, you're like, oh, this is actually pretty small.
Yeah.
There's not enough room to host a sizable event that they host there, unless you're fine dancing in the front door, like Princess Diana did.
You remind me of the state dinner in the tent during the Obama administration.
Mm-hmm.
That was when the Salahis crashed the party, remember?
Speaking of Real Housewives, what a good recall.
Real Housewives in
the
D.C.
biggest news, the party crashers.
The Salahis. Oh, my gosh. But yes, and that party was in a
to.
tent. It was 100% in a tent. I want to say it was 2009.
That cost millions of dollars.
Or
to
2010.
construct.
Yes, exactly. Every single time you set up a tent like that, and you're still in a tent. Wouldn't it be nice to be in a ballroom? But no one cares. No one asks if this is a good idea. So now, after real fast, you just reminded there are private dollars that are going to this. So now the media is interested. Well, who's donating that money? What are they getting in return? They didn't care about the Lincoln bedroom being rented out by the Clintons. But now suddenly, actually something substantial is happening, and the money isn't going to a campaign like it was for the Clintons. It's going to build something that will last for presidencies, for decades forward. There's just such hypocrites. And so now the argument against Trump is, well, you haven't been transparent about this. This is all, you hid that. And so he was asked about that yesterday. Listen to this. This is hilarious. Cut 7.
People who say that you haven't been transparent enough about this.
I haven't been transparent?
That some of your critics feel it should have gone.
I've shown this to everybody that would listen. Third-rate reporters didn't see it because they didn't look. You're a third-rate reporter, always have been. So third-rate reporters didn't look. But anybody that asked, these pictures have been in newspapers. They've been all over the place, and we're very proud of it. It's gotten great reviews. It's gotten really great reviews.
He's showing the model. There's a little model, and if you notice, every single Oval Office appearance of President Trump for the last 6 months, if you look on the coffee table, this freaking model is right there because he's so proud of it. Former Congressman Peter Myers said, he's had the model in the Oval for the last 2 weeks. Trump has shared his plans with every head of state, every senior official, every journalist, every Secret Service agent, every intern, every janitor that's walked into that office. Trump has said, come look at the model of the renovation we're doing. But no, he's not being transparent, Cassie.
He's not hiding it all. You're right. He's so proud of it. Of course, he's a builder. He's a construction guy. He's taking a lot of pride in how it's going to be only the finest materials, but not enough for that third-rate reporter. I think I love how he does that. And I have to say, actually, one more thing. Speaking of the Rose Garden, everybody loves to say, I cannot believe he demolished the Rose Garden. And he was talking about it at the event they did with the senators the other day about how they sourced the marble so that it matches the White House. It's all very tastefully done. He didn't just bring in, some fake plywood or something. But for the record, everybody, the roses are okay. He replaced the grass. The roses
grass
still line the exterior of the Rose Garden. So take that one off your hit list about Trump, too.
All he did was put a marble patio out there. And by the way, you talk to anybody who was invited to a Rose Garden event. The Rose Garden's been used. It is a functional space. They use it for announcements and events. And I don't know if you've heard this or not, Cassie, but D.C. is actually built on a swamp. It's true. I know. Not a lot of people talk about that. And when it rains, and it does rain quite a bit around here, and you go to the Rose Garden in your business suit or the ladies in their heels, and you have to stand out at the Rose Garden for an event in the wet, muddy grass from this morning's rain, and your shoes start getting screwed up and sink into it was a nightmare. The roses are there. All they've done is put a nice patio out there, and it's lovely. Leave them alone.
Yes, and reporters know that, too.
Of course
They're being so disingenuous.
Of course.
They are all enjoying that upgrade. But the roses are fine.
Yes.
Stop acting like he got rid of the roses.
And it's the East Wing, not the East Room. Yes. By the way, I'll get into that in a second because you reminded me when you talked about Princess Diana and John Travolta dancing. We'll get to that in a second. It's 6:45 WMAL.
Making sense of your world.
Thank you for what you do.
News Talk 105.9 WMAL.
You give me hope.
Making sense of the news.
Later this morning on the Chris Plant Show in Los Angeles, the radical teachers are revolting.
They are not the only ones with guns in this city.
9 a.m. on WMAL.
They're going absolutely crazy, Cassie Smedile, over the White House renovations. And honestly, Trump does this just to poke him. Julie Gunlock was speculating about this earlier in the week. It's like, they could have put up a facade and some tenting or covered up the renovation and and Trump probably jumped in and said, no. I want them to go nuts. I want go ahead, let them see the whole demo, because they'll go crazy, and they are. But you mentioned the iconic photo of John Travolta and Princess Diana. I had forgotten that was in the lobby. So, you've got the north facade of the White House, of the mansion. When the White House was first built, it was a mansion. George Washington helped design it, and it's actually sort of laid out like Mount Vernon, by the way. You go in the front entrance, you go to the left, and that's the big. At Mount Vernon, it's a green room, but it's meant as sometimes they would have dancing there. They could bring in tables to have a banquet dinner. That's the East Room, okay? And you go into the circular driveway there off Lafayette Square. You go in the main entrance. You turn an immediate left. That's the East Room. And the East Room is where they have a lot of functions, but it's you walk into it. You've been there. It looks a lot bigger on TV.
Right.
It is not a big room. I remember in the first term, I interviewed President Trump in that room. They set up like 7 radio hosts around the room, and he would like bounce from table to table, and we'd interview him. Mm-hmm. They could only fit 7 of us because it's that small. It's just not a big room. And so they do have some very small state dinners in there, and they have functions. Whenever you see the president walking down that long hallway to address the nation, like when Obama announced that we had gotten Osama bin Laden, right? Mm-hmm. And he walks down that long red carpet and then stands right in the doorway and delivers a message. He's standing in the doorway of the East Room. That's the East Room. Gretchen Carlson, last night, former Fox News host. Now she's gone very left politically, let's just say. Nice enough person and everything. She took to the X platform with a picture of herself and Joe Biden and Kamala Harris in the East Room. And she said, I was in the East Room of the White House in March of 2022 to witness history when we signed into law the Ending Forced Arbitration of Sexual Assault and Sexual Harassment Act. Boy, that's a mouthful. Now that East Room doesn't exist anymore. It's like, Gretchen, I know you're trying to make a point and get attention, but darling, the East Room exists. It's fine. The East Room is part of the mansion. No one's touching the East Room. It's the East Wing, which is a very different thing. It's an annex building off of the mansion, way further. It's like, go ahead and have your TDS and scream about Trump, but at least get your facts straight. Y'all sound like morons out there.
Mm-hmm. Complete a journalist, Gretchen Carlson.
Journalist.
But I think it's probably 200 yards away from where she's talking about. It's not even close. It's not. So it's kind of funny that it's just like an entrance but I love Julie Gunlock's theory about him taking the wrecking ball and saying, not only do I not want to cover it, take the wrecking ball to it.
Yeah.
Give them something to
actually,
talk about.
Go. Actually, go. Yeah. Use 19th century equipment to tear this down, just to get them upset. I think people think that the West Wing is like part of the mansion. This is again. I blame Aaron Sorkin for all of this with that damn television series that he had. But the West Wing didn't exist before 100 years ago. That it's an annex. It's like an addition. You walk down that colonnade. You see the iconic picture of the president walking down the colonnade. That colonnade was created to sort of connect the West Wing to the mansion and all of the things that go on over there, the Roosevelt Room and the offices down below. The West Wing, the East Wing, is the same thing. It just goes toward the Treasury Department and the Treasury Building. But it's hardly ever mentioned because it's the First Lady's offices that are obsolete now. And I remember Hillary Clinton famously did not want her office in the East Wing because it was so far away from the action. She demanded an office in the West Wing because, she was co-president.
She was in charge, after all.
Yeah, well, Bill was busy with other things.
He had other priorities. But, and I could see that this is just emblematic of what's wrong with our press and all the fake news that everybody talks about. Most people are not familiar with the floor plan of the White House. That's normal.
But these reporters are.
The reporters. Yes.
They work there every day. They know what it is.
And that they, in good conscience, are perpetuating this story instead of saying, no, like, this is not what this is. We want to be really clear about where this is and what's happening and what still exists and what. No, it's too much fun for them. But then it gets to be really fun for us to make fun of them. So you got that.
So here's quickly, cut 8. Here's Sarah Haynes on The View yesterday talking about the renovation.
People are struggling to eat, and this was like a wealthy ballroom paid for by wealthy people for wealthy people to come and dance in a ballroom. And like, I know this was private funds, but I can't help but imagine how far $250 million could go for families who can't put food on the table.
I can't. During the Depression, Franklin Roosevelt built himself a swimming pool. During the Depression, Cassie. And he's a hero. He's a hero to the Democrats. Enough. I can't. It's 6:55.